At exactly 12:03 a.m., I pulled into a desert gas station that wasn't supposed to exist. No other cars, no signal, just me, and the man in the brown coat who walked in without leaving footprints. That was the last normal moment of my life. I never thought working the night shift at a rundown gas station off Route 79 would end with me questioning reality, or worse, myself, but then again, I never believed in the kinds of things you only hear about in stories, the kind told by people who vanish by morning or are written off as delusional until it happened to me, until that night when everything changed, and I saw what I wasn't supposed to see, heard what no one should hear, and realized that there are places in this country that shouldn't exist, let alone be lit up by a flickering neon sign that says open 24 hours, but that's where I was, just me, a row of candy bars turning stale on their hooks, and the buzz of fluorescent lights that seemed to hum louder with every tick of the clock past midnight, and yeah, maybe I was already on edge that night, something in the air. Maybe the way the wind had died suddenly, like the desert itself was holding its breath, but when the clock hit 12:03 and I noticed the hands twitch back and forth, refusing to move forward, something deep in my chest went cold, and I knew I had to get out, but I didn't. I stayed, because I had nowhere else to go, and because I told myself it was probably just a power surge or a mechanical glitch. Just one more thing broken in this forgotten corner of Arizona where nobody cared what happened as long as the gas kept flowing and the beer fridge stayed stocked, but then the door creaked open, real slow, like someone outside was dragging it. With hesitation, or maybe dread, and that's when I saw him. No, it's standing on the threshold, half in shadow, half lit by the buzzing open sign, wearing an old brown coat that hung like wet paper over its frame, face hidden beneath a trucker hat pulled low, and I don't know why but I couldn't move, couldn't even speak, just stood there like my boots were nailed to the filthy tile floor as he shuffled in, didn't look at me, didn't even glance around, just moved past the snack aisle, past the fridge, straight to the back where the employee door was, the one labeled no entry, the one that led to the maintenance hall and my tiny supply closet office, and when I finally found the nerve to move, to ask who the hell he was, I turned the corner and he was gone, not in the hallway, not in the bathroom, just gone, and the door had never opened again, not a sound, no wind, nothing, just that humming light and the sound of my own heart trying to break free from my ribs, and I wanted to believe. I imagined him, I needed to believe I imagined him, but when I stepped behind the counter to check the security monitor, the footage was just static, flickering gray noise like the whole system had glitched out at the exact moment he appeared, and my hands were shaking as I rewound the tape, only to see everything go dark between 12:03 and 12:07, then jump back into normalcy like someone had sliced time itself, and that's when I remembered the clock, how it twitched and stalled and refused to move forward, and I looked back at it again, still 12:03, still stuck like the second hand didn't believe in progress anymore, and then the power flickered, just once, but enough to make the lights go out for half a second, and in that flash of darkness I heard breathing, right behind me, long, raspy, deliberate, like something trying not to be heard but too massive to stay silent, and when the light snapped back on, there was no one there, just me and the mirror behind the cigarette case, and in that reflection I swear I saw something tall, with limbs too long and a head that tilted slightly, like it was trying to understand what I was, and then the image blinked away like a bad dream chased out by morning, but it wasn't morning, it was still just past midnight, and nothing was right anymore, nothing at all, and that's when I made the decision I was going to leave, just close up, screw the paycheck, Screw the rules, I needed to get out before whatever this was decided I was worth noticing, but when I went to the front to flip the open sign to closed, the glass was black, not dark, not tinted, just black, like ink or obsidian, like there was no world outside, no stars, no pumps, no desert highway, just a wall of black nothingness pressed against the window like a veil between dimensions, and I reached out, hesitant, just to touch it, and when my fingers met the glass, it was cold, colder than ice, and it felt like something pulled from the other side, not a hand, not claws, but gravity, like it wanted me to come through, like it wanted me gone from this side forever, and I yanked my hand back and stumbled into the candy rack, the Snickers tumbling like dominoes. And in the sudden silence that followed, I heard a voice, small, childlike, but hollow, like it echoed from inside a cavern, whisper, "You shouldn't be here," and when I turned, expecting to see someone crouched behind the counter or maybe a prankster from the high school playing a trick, there was nothing but that damn flickering light and the scent of gasoline and old jerky, and suddenly I didn't know what was worse, the things I was seeing or the fact that I couldn't tell if they were real anymore, and that's when the phone rang, the dusty landline no one ever used, the one I thought was dead, and I froze again, because who the hell would call the station at 12:08 a.m. when there was no signal for 30 miles in any direction, and yet it rang, a steady buzz that echoed louder than any scream, and against my better judgment, I answered, because of course I did, and all I heard on the other end was breathing, no words, just that same rasping breath I heard behind me before. And then a click and silence, and that's when I realized I wasn't alone anymore, not truly, not in any way that mattered, and whatever was in the station, it was watching, waiting, and I had no idea how to leave or if leaving was even an option anymore. I don't know how long I stood there with the receiver still in my hand, the dial tone gone dead, the buzzing of the overhead lights now a dull roar inside my skull, but something shifted in that moment, like the gas station was no longer a place but a thing, alive in its own right, breathing, watching, and I swear to God the walls moved just a fraction of an inch, inward, like the building exhaled and I was inside its lungs, and the moment I stepped back, I heard something fall in the back storage room, loud and deliberate, a metal shelf crashing onto concrete, and I told myself it was just a rat or some desert animal, but deep down I knew better, because nothing natural made that sound, nothing normal walks in without a trace, and I hesitated at the door, the one that now looked darker than before, like the shadows behind it had thickened into something more than just absence of light, and when I finally pushed it open with the end of a broom, ready to run if I saw so much as a flicker of movement, what I saw made my knees weaken, a spiral symbol etched into the floor in black soot, thick lines still smoking slightly, and in the center was a name tag, mine, smeared with something dark that wasn't ink, and the air smelled like burnt plastic and something sweeter, rotting, and suddenly I couldn't breathe right, like the air didn't want to fill my lungs, and I backed out fast, shutting the door hard, locking it like that was gonna help, and I turned to grab my phone, only to find it missing from the counter where I left it, gone completely, like it had never been there, and now the door to the outside, what used to be the outside, was cracked open again, not all the way, just enough to invite, and the black void from earlier was gone, replaced now with a distorted view of the highway, like I was looking at it through water, and the gas pumps were still there, frozen in place, but something was wrong with the sky. No stars, no clouds, no moon, just a dim orange hue, like a dying fire smothered under ash, and I ran, because fight wasn't in the cards, not against whatever this was, and when I burst out the front door, I felt the temperature drop instantly, not like a breeze, but like stepping into a freezer made of static, and the second my foot hit the dirt, the world blinked, just blinked, and the gas station behind me vanished, replaced by a stretch of empty desert where no building had ever stood, and I spun around in circles, shouting, cussing, demanding an answer from the void, from the sand, from the night, but all I got was that same childlike whisper again, closer this time, clearer, "You don't belong here," and when I turned, the man in the brown coat was standing at the edge of the road, hat still low, face still hidden, only this time his coat was soaked through like he'd been walking underwater, and his hand was outstretched, like he wanted me to come with him, like that was my only option, and behind him I saw shapes tall, thin figures standing impossibly still, too symmetrical, their heads cocked at the same angle like puppets waiting for a cue, and I took a step back, but the sand beneath me gave way, soft and spongy like it wanted to swallow me whole, and that's when I turned and ran, no destination, just movement, just instinct, tearing across the desert like hell itself was behind me, and maybe it was, because when I looked back, the landscape had changed, the road was gone, the cactus trees were twisted into shapes that made my stomach turn, and the sky was no longer orange but a deep blood red, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat, and I kept running until I found the diner, old and rusted, flickering neon barely spelling eats, and I stumbled inside, expecting it to be abandoned, but the moment I crossed the threshold, the jukebox clicked on, playing a song I knew from my childhood, and behind the counter was a woman with no eyes, just smooth skin where they should be been, and she smiled like she knew me, like she'd been waiting, and she said, "You took the wrong turn, baby, but that's okay, we all do, eventually," and I backed away, slamming into a booth, the fake leather peeling and sticky, and outside the window I saw my reflection, but it wasn't me, not anymore, not fully, the eyes weren't mine, the mouth smiled too wide, and it waved, mimicking my every movement just a second too slow, and I screamed, or tried to, but no sound came out, only the jukebox, looping the same line over and over, "You're already here, you're already here," and I realized that whatever this place was, it wasn't letting me go, because it wanted me, like it needed people to see it to stay real, to stay alive, and the more I feared it, the stronger it got, and as I sat there in that diner under the red sky, I knew the gas station didn't just vanish, it moved, and someday, someone else would find it, stumble into it just like I did, and the clock would stop again at 12:03, and the door would creak open. And the man in the brown coat would shuffle in, and another poor soul would be pulled into the fold, trapped between what was and what shouldn't be, and the cycle would start again, forever midnight on a road that shouldn't exist, in a town that hungers for anyone who's lost enough to wander off the map.